Oh my goodness, I think we might have just had one of the best Thursday night football games that we've ever had, at least in recent memory. An absolute barn burner between the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Almost zero defense was played in this one, 36-30, an overtime thriller. And Kirk Cousins, he is the story of the night. Over 500 yards passing, 4 passing touchdowns, and he was just money really from start to finish. And I feel like not too long ago, Kirk Cousins was viewed as somebody that did not show up well in primetime games, somebody that did not show up against good teams. And the Buccaneers heading into this one were 3-1 and a division rival in primetime. That is a big time win for Kirk Cousins, and we've seen him do it already this year against the Philadelphia Eagles, having a come from behind win. We saw him do it just last week against the New Orleans Saints, another fairly good team and good defense. I've been thoroughly impressed with Kirk Cousins, and I really feel like the last 2 seasons, if you go back to last year with the Vikings, before he got hurt, he was probably playing the best football of his career. And coming into this season, it was, how is Kirk Cousins going to rebound from his Achilles injury? Will he ever be the same quarterback? And while I don't think he has the exact same ability, he's definitely not as comfortable in the pocket as he was before that injury. He is still just as good as he was last year, in my opinion, at least. I mean, he's still undoubtedly a top 12, top 10 quarterback. And if he's going to be playing like this for the Falcons all year long, this is going to be their division to win, and they are going to be a threat in the playoffs to win a game or 2. But I have some questions regarding their defense about how much this team can actually achieve, because the defensive line, it got shredded tonight. Tampa Bay was just pushing them all around up front. Baker Mayfield really didn't have any pressure on him whatsoever. And really, outside of Matthew Judon, who does seem like he's kind of on the decline of his career, the Falcons don't have a great pass rusher off the edge. And Grady Jarrett, he's really their stud pass rusher on the interior. But again, he's another guy coming off of a severe injury from last season, up there in age a little bit. So the defensive line for the Falcons is definitely probably the weakest unit on the entire team. And that's why I don't really consider this team like a real Super Bowl contender. But man, what a game for the Falcons tonight, and Kirk Cousins really shutting up the haters once again. Previously, before tonight, Kirk Cousins' career high in passing yards was 460. I think it was around there before overtime. Had a completion to, I believe, Kyle Pitts, then Drake London, and then the walk-off touchdown to Cardale Hodge, probably like the wide receiver 4 or 5 on the Falcons. He just comes in, doesn't get a ton of snaps, catches like a dig in the middle of the field, and just outruns everybody on the Buccaneers defense. I don't even think he was really touched, and it was just an easy 6 points to get Cousins over that 500-yard mark. And I don't think we're probably going to see another 500-yard performance this NFL season. I mean, that is so rare to have. He did throw the ball 58 times, but I mean, they were just dicing up the Buccaneers secondary all game long. Why really switched up? Bijan had like one big run that kind of boosted up his yards per carry a little bit, but I feel like on a down-to-down basis, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson really struggled to find a lot of green grass to run on. The Falcons offense got a little bit one-dimensional, but Kirk Cousins, I mean, he was just dealing all night long. Darnell Mooney had a couple of big plays. He did have also the key drop, which kind of felt like maybe that was going to be the losing play for the Falcons, but it was like a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. Falcons are inside Buccaneers territory, down by 3 points. Cousins drops back, another beautiful down, like a little comeback route, hits Mooney in the chest, but he just kind of bobbled it, and the Falcons had to punt it away to the Buccaneers, and that was a really big turning point in the game. But honestly, to give the Falcons defense a little bit of credit, they did prevent 2 field goals 2 separate times that really could have had the Buccaneers extend their lead and make the Falcons have to go down and get a touchdown to win the game. After the punt from the Mooney drop, that's when the Buccaneers went down, got into field goal range, and then Bucky Irving, the rookie running back, had the ball punched out from Jesse Bates, who's just an absolute stud, one of the best safeties in the entire sport. He just punched it out. The Falcons dove on the ball, and they prevented another 3 points from being added. And then that was probably one of the worst offensive possessions the Falcons had all night. It was a quick, I guess you would call it 4 and out, because they went for it on 4th and 15. That was Cousins' really only mistake of the night, but he kind of had to throw it just to try and pick up the first down with less than 2 minutes to go in the game. Levante David made a great play on it, picked it off. And then again, instead of allowing the Buccaneers to get in field goal range, they had a penalty, and the Falcons defense stood up tall, forced the Buccaneers to punt it once again, and then that's what allowed Kirk Cousins to lead a crazy game-tying drive. He got the spike off with like, I think 1 second left in the game, and that is just not an easy thing to do. We've seen so many teams struggle to get up and spike the ball before the clock expires. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys had an instance against the 49ers in the playoffs a couple years ago where they had to pass in the middle of the field, try to spike it to get the game-tying field goal, couldn't get it off. That is very hard to execute. So I think Kirk Cousins and Raheem Morris and his coaching staff deserve a lot of credit for really having that final drive work to perfection without any timeouts. I mean, that was just truly amazing. I think Drake London and Kyle Pitts also deserve their flowers for their performances tonight. I mean, there's been a lot of talk in the media the last couple of weeks like, oh, is Bijan, is Drake London, is Kyle Pitts, are these guys overrated? Are they really not as good as where the Falcons, drafted them inside like the top 10, every single one of them? But I mean, London tonight, over 150 yards and a touchdown. I don't really have his entire stat sheet pulled up, but I have a good feeling that's probably his career high in receiving yards or really close to it. I mean, he was cooking whoever lined up across from him all night long. And then Kyle Pitts. I know he's a memeable player because of all the fantasy gurus who draft him, and he doesn't really live up to the hype of where they pick him. But Kyle Pitts had one of his best games, I feel like, in recent memory tonight. 7 catches, 88 yards, and was kind of just that security blanket for Cousins. I think one of the first plays of the game, it actually might have been the first play of the game, it was a nice seam shot to Kyle Pitts for like 30 yards to kick off the game. And then even the final drive of regulation, when they had to go get the game-tying field goal, I don't know why this is stuck in my head, but Kyle Pitts caught like a little check down pass from Cousins. There was 2 defenders waiting for him. He like juked down one of them and still managed to get out of bounds. That saved probably 10 seconds because they did not have to go no huddle, get up to the line and snap another play. They were able to just reset, get another play in from Zach Robinson. So even like a small play like that was very beneficial to the Falcons and their final drive. And so I just feel like Drake London and Kyle Pitts had themselves really, really good games, one of their best games of each of their careers. And I do think they deserve their flowers for what they did tonight. The Falcons now move to 3-2 in first place in the division with really key wins at home, defending their home turf against the New Orleans Saints and against the Buccaneers in back-to-back weeks. After this mini bye week, they travel to face off against the Carolina Panthers. I think they're going to be favored in that game. I expect them to win that game. So taking down each of their division opponents early in the season like this is definitely going to be a huge advantage for them as the kind of division race towards the end of the year down the stretch becomes a bigger storyline. They also play Tampa and New Orleans again within the next 5 weeks. I mean, if they can start off 5-0 in the division halfway through the season or like even 4-1, that is going to make them massive front runners to take home the division title for the first time in several years. And really looking at the rest of their schedule, I think they're going to be favored against the Dallas Cowboys at home. I think Seattle's going to be a tough game in 2 weeks, but they still have games at Denver, at the Raiders, home against the Giants, and at the Washington Commanders. Those are all super winnable games. So these last 2 weeks, taking down 2 good teams in their division are going to be huge for them to get to double-digit wins. And I also have to shout out Young Wei Koo. I don't know how it's taken me this long into the video to give him some props, but for back-to-back weeks, he's hit an over 50-yard field goal last week against the Saints to win it, a 58-yarder, and then tonight, I think from 52 yards, tied up, sent it to OT. He's just been so clutch for them. And even tonight, he was not his best. He had a field goal blocked, and then in the first half, he had like 2 chances from less than 50 yards. He hooked it both times, but in the biggest spot of this game, he showed up, and I think he's emerging as one of the best clutch kickers in the league. But what a win for the Atlanta Falcons, and shout out Kirk Cousins for one of the best games of his career, over 500 yards and 4 passing touchdowns against the division rival in prime time against a good team and leading yet another game-tying / game-winning drive. He's just completely flipped all of the narratives about him early in his career to a complete 180 the last couple of seasons. And I just can't be more happy for Kirk Cousins. He's definitely one of the more likable players in the entire National Football League. But I want to know your thoughts about this game and also Kirk Cousins' performance. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But subscribe to the channel if you are new. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.